Okay, so we yesterday started the sugya within a sugya of honoring zakenim who are not chachamim, right? So let's reread the Rambam, but we were in the middle of going through the non-Rambam sources. Yeah. All right, so Rambam says in Hilchos Talmud Torah Vav Tes, Mishu Zaken Mufla Bezikna, someone who is an elder who's very old. Even though he's not a chacham, we stand up in his presence. And even a chacham who is young stands in front of a zaken who is very old. And that chacham, that young chacham, is not obligated to stand to his full stature, but only enough to glorify the zaken. Mashma that a regular person would be obligated to stand up to his full stature. Bafilu zaken goy, even a non-Jewish zaken, mahadrin also b'devarim, we glorify him with words. V'nosnin lo yad l'samcho, and we give him a hand to support. Shneimar, as it says, mipnei seva takum, it says, arise because of old age. Kol seva b'mashma, and that implies all old age. Okay, so we had a ton of questions, some of which we answered, some of which we didn't. So let's just list all the questions again now, even though we're not going to go to the Rambam until the end. Let's go through all of them first and we'll see. So first of all, our question was, the general question of the whole thing is like, how does this fit into the mitzvah? The mitzvah, the way that the Rambam formulates in the beginning of the halachos is l'chabed melamdeha v'yodeha, to honor those who know Torah and teach Torah. So just because you're old doesn't mean you know Torah, and especially if it's a zaken goy, right? And so why is this even part of the mitzvah? And if you hold like the Rambam that mipnei seva takum is a separate mitzvah of honoring elders, that would make sense. But the Rambam does not hold that. He holds this is part of the mitzvah of honoring chachmei haTorah. Okay, so that's one question. Another question, practical question, how old is considered muflag b'zikna? And we had Rav Makbili's theory, who said that it must be around 90, but he based that off of a Rashi on Gittin from Yevamos that didn't seem to have anything to do with the sugya. So our question was like, is that really true, that's a zaken muflag b'zikna? 3, what's the havamina? I mean, havamina is actually the easy one, right? That you wouldn't honor him, he's not a chacham, because the pasuk says v'tarta b'nei zaken. Zaken, we said, is like the zakenim, like a chacham. What's the havamina that if you're a young chacham, you would not have to stand up for a zaken muflag?
What do you mean by havamina?
Well, it's va'filu hachacham shu yelad omi b'fnei zaken. So the havamina is that a chacham would not have to stand in front of a zaken.
I guess, yeah, I mixed up standing and standing. I guess
so then the second question is, once you say that the chacham is obligated to stand up, why is the chacham not obligated to stand up fully, whereas an ordinary person is obligated to stand up fully? And then how fully is fully? Like, what does melo komaso mean? Just practically. And then also, why is a zaken goy included in this? And by the way, he has not said a chacham goy is you're obligated to honor, right? He doesn't say through the entire, like, the first 8 halachos that you're obligated to honor a goy who's a chacham, right? So that's a little strange, right? Once you're extending it to goy, why not for everything? Then the question is, another question is, this is the first time we're seeing that hidur means things other than standing, right? Up until now, we've seen kima, sheish ba hidur, and be mahadir means to stand up for him. Here, mahadir b'devarim and nosnin yad l'samcho. So where does that come from? And then also, is hidur for a regular chacham? Does that also mean b'devarim and yad l'samcho? And for a goy, it's just those things, or is chacham standing and zaken goy just supporting hand and words? Yeah. What do you say?
There's also like, where do you get hitter for a zaken?
Where do you get hitter for a zaken? Correct, right? Because the pasuk says,
where do you get hitter for an old person? I'll do that. Where do you get hitter for a seva? Where do you get hitter for a seva?
Right. So this is kind of what we became mired in for a while on the pasuk. So on the pasuk says, "Mipnei seva takum v'hadarta b'nei zaken." Rise up in front of an elder and glorify the presence of a zaken. So there was a 3-way machlokes tanaim. So the Tanna Kama says that this is describing one person, which means that you only give honor to someone who is both old and a chacham. So someone who's old and not a chacham, no mitzvah, and someone who's chacham but not old, also no mitzvah. Then you've got Rabbi Yossi Glili, who says that it's two people, an elder, but meaning a stam elder, and then a person who has acquired chachma. And then there's Isi ben Yehuda, who says even an elder who's a zakin ashmai, which unclear what that means. Rashi said am haaretz. How did Rashi say it? Am haaretz, Russia, and something else. But then the Torah Temimah was emphatic that obviously not a Russia. Yeah.
Do all sources from your say continue like from this paper?
You don't have to rewrite them. Yeah, it's fine. I'm just gonna add the new ones. And then right. So Yosef's question is, if you read this according to the Tanna Kama, then Hidr and Kima apply to Seva and Zakin. So that's not a question according to the Tanna Kama. But if it's according to Rabbi Yossi Glili, which it sounds like the Rambam is poskening like, that Seva is one thing and Zakin is another thing. So then where do you get Hidr for Seva? And we said that really the Rambam should make the opposite drasha, which he should have said, a Zakin Mufalag Vizikna, Eno Chayav Lamod Kadei Lahadro Ella Kima. Something like that, because then you would at least keep it in confines of the psak. Yeah.
First, I don't think we go like I think it's the third opinion that for
Isi ben Yehuda.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah. I remember seeing some line like that in the bar because
let me go back to the Gemara
Kedushin. Just when I see that, I mean this, and afterwards it got wrapped up in looked to my own.
Oh, okay. So I just want to see what the in Mishpat Ner Mitzvah said. Hold on.
I can show you the one I'm thinking of.
Sure, just 1 second. Let me just find the page on the thing.
Mishpat Ner Mitzvah.
You don't have to quote him. Mishpat Ner Mitzvah is the thing that tells you how we paskin. It says a filu kol seva b'mashma, but that's the difference. Kol seva. Yossi Haglili. Oh, Hanishan Kama v'chakim. A filu yanik v'chakim, and then where's the Ashmai? Was that in Zakin Ashmai Timlo or Zakin In Zakin Ela Shakana Chachma? Oh yeah, Rashi said Asham Rasha Amaretz. That's how he defined it. Then was it in Kiddushin Lamud Gimel?
Asham literally means guilty.
Yeah, like a korban asham.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Is that what you're going to show me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So he does say that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's funny that it doesn't bring it down. Oh, because that's for the non-Jew. Okay. Good.
Yeah. And then,
yeah.
And I'll say one more. The psak. Not sure this we worked on just anything. So really pause like this. You pnei seva takum v'darja pnei zakim that when you stand up for the old person, it has to be a way that's harder, I guess, to the zakim, meaning that no, this means that you cannot be giving more cover to the seva than the zakin, because if you do, then it's disrespectful to the zakin. So therefore, it's a kavod. Therefore, we can learn, I guess, laws while standing up for Zakadim, it's sort of it's kavod because there can be nothing about them that's more called than the seva.
Okay, now first of all, is this your drasha or this is something we found?
Something I'm cobbling together.
Okay, fine. All right. So,
yeah.
All right.
Not something.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, so we actually should do this though. This just this one paragraph here. Isi ben Yehuda Omer mipnei seva takum v'afilu kol seva b'mashma. So that's where you get. Is there a Rashi on this? No. So the kol seva means even a regular old person. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan halacha to Isi ben Yehuda. Okay, fine. So we pass on like him. Rabbi Yochanan havaka'e mikame save da'aramae. So Rabbi Yochanan would stand up in front of non-Jewish elders. Amar lahu, and he would say, Kama harpak ke ado alaihu dahani. So how many harpatkai? So Rashi says mikraos. I don't think this is I've never seen the word mikraos with an aleph to mean. I think this is like events, right? Not like mikra, like psukim, all right? How many events and sorrows? V'ra'u nisim harbe umofsim. So that's like the Sefer Chinuch said. Adu aleihen, avru aleim. So they've had a lot of life experience. Yeah. Okay. And then Rava mekam lokai. Rava would not get up. Hider avalahu. He would just do hider. And it looks like that's what the Rambam paskin's like. Let's see. Abaya had. Oh, I skipped the line. Or Abaya yahav yada lasabe. And Abaya would give a hand for support. I guess Rashi has it the other way. No. Abaye yahiv yada lasabe. He would give a hand to them. Rashi says Abaye yahiv yada lasabe. Poshet yad lazakenim kol kamash ovrim etzlo v'nishanin alav. So whenever they pass by him, he would give them support. Rava hayashalech shluchav lifshot lahen yad aval hu atzma lo. That's interesting. So Rava would send his shluchim to go help them, but he himself wouldn't do it. It's interesting machlokes. Rav Nachman Meshadar Guzai. Amar ilav Torah kama Nachman bar Ada Ika Beshuka. I've heard that statement quoted before. Whoa, that is a long Rashi. Wait, yeah. Rav Nachman Mishar Guzai Sarisim Shayutami Lafanav. So Yutzen, I think Sarisim here does not mean eunuchs. I think it means like attendants. Now Yutzen has attendants who were constantly with him. Lafishaya Sar Chasan Hanasi Vav Beistin. Sorry, Shahaya Sar. Sar Chassan, how do you punctuate this? Sar Chassan Hanasi V'av Beistin Hayu Regilin Lamo Lafanav Misharsim Lahakos Ulakof Mandalot Sait Dina. Kshayu Zakinim Ovrim Lafanav Hashalech Hanach Sarisim Lahachzik Biadam Aval Hu Asma Lo Shaloi Lazalzo Betoraso. So I guess these prominent people. I don't know what Sar Chassan is, but the Nasi.
There's Sar, and he's also Chassan the Nasi, and there's also the.
What's Chassan Hanasi?
Is Chassan father-in-law, or are we seeing out something else?
Yeah, Chassan's father-in-law.
So
he was a Sar and a Chassan of the Nasi and Abesin. Okay, I guess he could be all three. But then he says Hayu, which implies that these are three separate people. Whatever. So
I think Hayu is the general population.
Oh, Hayu Regilin Lamo Lafanav. Misharsim. Okay, yeah, you're right. Misharsim would be accustomed to stand before him. Lahakos ulakof mandalotai dina, and they would strike the people who didn't pay attention to the halacha. Because I was a kingdom over him, and when the king would pass in front of him, so he'd send out these attendants to support, to grab their hands. About who atma lo, he himself wouldn't do this so as to not degrade his Torah. So that's like what you wanted to say, that he can't be mechabe them in a way that results in a bizur to his Torah. Like if he himself were to do it, it would be beneath him. So I guess that seems to be the havamina that Yeled Chacham should not stand up for a regular zaken, right? Yeah. So we have to understand the maskana.
The Torah scholar. Yeah.
What was it?
I guess between Torah scholar Lord and the
right. The Amar ilav Torah kama Nachman ikar. Wait. I think this is probably supposed to be the Ramah still.
Do you want to look at this?
The Amar, hold on a second. ilav Torah.
No, the Ramah still no. Just.
Oh no. Okay, fine. The Amar ilav Torah kama Nachman ikar b'shuka hilkach in chashivusi b'shvil atzmi ella b'shvil Torah. So he's saying basically that my Torah is not from my cover is not for myself; it's for my Torah. So some say that Abaye, when he was giving a hand to the Saba people, it was honoring himself with the zakenim. Poshit lahem yado sheyishan hu alehem. What? He would lean on them? That doesn't seem very stable. Rava Meshadar Shluche Shiatsu Likraso Lichvodo. Rava would send his shluchim to go out to Likraso Lichvodo. So it was be for his honor. Rav Nachman and also Rav Nachman Valesa, but he says that doesn't make sense. Techol Heina Hecha Degarsinan Yahavidal Hishain Acherim Alav Kamar Vlo Hishain Hu Al Acherim. So the term Hishain means for them to lean on, not for him to lean on them. Kid Amar beper kama diuma Reish Lakish havasachi biyardana asa Rabba barbarchana yahiv le yadash yishan. All right, fine. So he's just bringing a riot that's what it means. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish ala viata l'sfasa nahar. Okay, fine. All right. So we get from here that we pass him like Isi ben Yehuda. And is that consistent with the way the Rambam says it? Sounds like it.
Although at the same time that you see like you still have the right to stand, you just don't have to.
You have the right to stand. You mean because you could always be milk on your kavod?
Well, certainly. Well, the really Sabai stood.
Right. Abaye did stand. Wait. No, Abaye. Wait. Abaye gave him a hand.
No, I think earlier.
Rava mekam lokai hidur avad.
I guess maybe thinking Rabbi Yochanan.
Rabbi Yochanan, right? Rabbi Yochanan stood. Yeah, right.
I guess thinking Rabbi Yochanan.
Yeah, right. Even for a non-Jewish one. Okay, so let's finish doing the Torah Temimah. I forgot to review one point from the Torah Temimah. So the Torah Temimah said, based on his own argument, that Zakenim here include Bale Masim Tovim, who don't even have any Chachma, right? And again, I just have to, I know I underscored it yesterday. That's such a big chiddush, because first of all, the Gemara doesn't say that. Secondly, it sounds like even the non-Jewish elders, it sounds like the Gemara is going out of its way to say how they had some form of Chachma, right? That they saw, they had life experience, right? And he brought this whole argument from the Tefillah. Okay, fine. Yeah.
What's it? Well, let's definitely say that for the stand. Wonder, it only says that for the one that stood, so it could be that because he had life experience, they could stand.
That could be. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. I'm going to pull out Ibn Ezra here. Ibn Ezra on our psak. You can just write Ibn Ezra. I'll know who it is. I'll know where it is. So Ibn Ezra says a thing on why do you stand for an elder? The Talmud Hazkir mipnei seva takum. So he learned seva as literally an old person. Bavur hames is because of the dead. Ki azakin karov lamisa, because zakin is close to death. Ki gufo kama nekshav. Kamesh nekshav. His body is considered as though he's dead. V'hine tamo kol zakin kol ish seva. So to me, Hiddur is hard to learn as not kavod, but not all kimas are kavod. So, all the other people who said you honor the old people because of the chachma or life experience they had, it sounded like it was in the same vein as like honoring them, being mechabe the chachma that they have. Is Ibn Ezra it sounds like he's saying you stand up because it's like a dead person is walking by you. Is that kavod? Is he saying kavod hamez, or is he saying out of the there is a type of thing of, I'm realizing I'm speculating here. There's a type of thing of standing up just because of the solemnity or the gravity of the circumstances, not out of kavod. I'm trying to think what would be an example of this in real life, where people stand up not for honor purposes, but just for maybe not.
People are just standing up.
When people stand up, I feel like people would say, no, I guess it's all for covered.
Imagine some places where it's the main character has some quest and everyone just gets out of the way for him.
Yeah, I see the visual that you're talking about, but yeah, all right, maybe that's a dud. Never mind, in terms of my approach I wanted to take. Yeah, all right, so back to the Torah Temimah. Where did he go? Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay, Torah Temimah. So where did we stop? We stopped after the Masim Tovim thing. Okay, so now he says now he's going to answer one of our questions. Shir haseva shechayavim lamon mipanav. So regarding the shir, how old you have to be to stand up before someone, or how old that person has to be before you stand up before them. Because of harush, duhu ben shivim shana. That's what I would have said, right? Because the Mishnah in Avos says that. Mishnah meforeshes ba'avos ben shivim l'seva. See, this really makes me wonder why Rav Makbili went to a Rashi on in Gittin as opposed to an open Mishnah. Open Mishnah, Seva. Oh, I know why, because he said muflag, because he was going off of the word muflag. right? Yeah. So in other words, the rush is going based on the pasuk. The Rambam was going off of the lashon of the Gemara of Muflag. Okay. Aval besidur ha'ari b'hakdamas hatfila kasav d'tzarich lama mipnei ben shishim shana v'hu pele. Okay, so the Ari in his Hakdama of his sitter, is that even a source that you can cite?
Why not?
Well, the Ari didn't write his sitter.
Oh, he didn't?
No, I don't even know what Hakdamas Hatfila. I don't know who wrote the sitter Ari, but it wasn't the Ari. He didn't write anything except for that Zmira for the Surah Shlishis. Okay, I guess some Chacham. He says you have to stand up for someone who's 60. I was going to say, do we have a sitter Ari? I don't think we do. Pella, that's astonishing. The low mashma kain al pi mishnah to Avos on Yisrael, right? It's not mashma like that in the Mishnah in Avos. What is in the Mishnah Avos? Ben shishim le. Do you remember? Okay, yeah. Velashan pasuk zeh. Velashan pasuk zeh, meaning that Mishnah matches up with this pasuk.
This is Torah Temimah?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Efshar Lomar de Samach Alma Targum Onkelos Mipnei Seva. So it's possible he's relying on what Onkelos said for Seva. Min Kadam de Savar Be'oraisa. Okay, Vadarza B'nei Zaken. Okay, of a Tishadar Pnei Saba, right? So we noted many times Onkelos says Seva is Savar Be'oraisa. That sounds like a Chacham, and Zaken is a Saba, which sounds like an old person. Hare Shapir Zaken Mamish. So he's explaining Zaken is a literal Zaken. Well, the Mishnah the Avos Hanis Kalel Mavor Ben Shishim LeZikna. That's what it is. Ben Shishim is for Zikna. Ach Divri HaTargum Sosrim Laha Gemara the Mefar Seva Pirusho Seva Mamish. V'Zakin Pirusho Tamachachim Kamuvor Lachanenu Vayin Baramban V'Tarich Ion. Okay, so we'll look at the bottom in a second. So that's the same problem that we have with the Onkelos. So he's trying to be Melamed Zechus on the Shita that Zikna is Shishim, because it says Ben Shishim L'Zikna, and that's what elder means. And it's going with the Onkelos who says that Zaken in the pasuk is the Zaken Mamish. Okay. But that's not going to the Gemara. He's saying, let's look at this Ramban. No, let's finish Torah Temimah first, because it's on the same subject. Ach l'chora tzarich iyun klal lashon haMishnah hanizka le'al Ben Shishim L'Zikna. But we need to understand what it means in general when the Mishnah says Ben Shishim L'Zikna. Mimasha kasav b'sof moed katan. Kafches Aleph to Shmuel Hanavi Meis ben Nun Beis Shana Uksiv Be Vayhi Ki Zaken Shmuel. Shmuel Hanavi died at the age of 52, and it says when he was Zaken. Hari Dekore Hakasav Zaken Gam Lepachos Mi Ben Shishim. So you see that you could be called Zaken even less than Ben Shishim. I mean, I think the answer there is what does it say? Does it associate with his death? Vayhi Ki Akasher Zaken Shmuel V'Yasim Es Banav Shoftim L'Yisrael. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say you could say that Zaken there means Chacham, but first of all, Shmuel was a Chacham way before that because he got Nevuah at a young age. And secondly, why would that result in him appointing Shoftim for Yisrael? Yeah, okay, so what does he say? He says, I closed it. So what's his answer? Torah Temimah, V'yesh lomar al pi hamavur b'tainis heyam beis dezikna d'ksiv b'shmuel lo zikna b'yamim ela shekafza alav zikna. Kodem zmano shenase chalosh. So it doesn't mean zikna in old age, it means zikna like feebleness. And feebleness leapt upon him, meaning he was prematurely feeble. Like it says in the Gemara. Okay, fine. So he does not end. So he ends up going with the rush that Seva is 70, right? He's not comfortable with the 60-year-old thing, and yeah. All right, so let's look at this Ramban on Vayikra, 1932.
Ramban,
sure, Ramban, yeah. Okay, Ramban says, Mipnei Seva Takum, Lashon Rabbeinu Shlomo, Yachol Mipnei Zaken Ashmai, Tamalomar Zaken, In Zaken Elo Shekana Chachma. So first of all, that's funny, right? Because, no, okay, hold on a second. So when we pass something like Isi ben Yehuda, we are still holding that Zaken means Chachma, but we're saying Seva means all Seva. Yeah. Right, okay, fine. All right, Velashon Toras Kohanim, V'hu Hashanu B'Gemara B'Maseches Kedushin, Tamalomar Zaken, In Zaken Ela Chacham. Okay, so he's saying it's a slightly different lashon. that not ein zaken ela shakana chachma, but ein zaken ela chacham. Shnemar esfali shivim ish miziknei Yisrael, right? So it's the non-Notrikon one, the one that learned out from the Gezerah Shava. Rabbi Yossi Haglili Omer ein zaken ela shakana chachma. So fine. Shnemar adashem kanani reshis darko. V'hine ledivrei shnehem ein hamitzvah ela b'chacham. So according to both of them, the mitzvah is only with a chacham. The Onkelos Amar means the kadam desavar bel raisa takum tehadar ape saba. Mashmas devar of shagam hu soverkain. So it's mashma that Onkelos also holds that it's only a chacham. I wouldn't say so. I'd say tehadar ape saba means old person. V'im kol zeh olam min haGemara lefi psak halacha, but nevertheless it comes out according to the Gemara with a psak halacha. Eno kain, that is not true. Shari Amru Isi ben Yehuda Omer kol seva b'mashma. Amar Rabbi Yochanan halacha Isi ben Yehuda. Right, so that's what we saw. Hine yatzava b'chol seva afilu al ashmai shuhu habor. So he's saying the ashmai again, not like Rashi, not a Rasha, but a bor, a fool. V'achzor v'yatzava al hazakin shuhu hakone chachma da'afilu yanik v'chakim. And then zakin is qualifying seva to mean even someone who's young and wise. V'yitachin shihi gamkin das anglos about yitargim yanik v'chakim b'seva da'asa zakin v'gali b'seva shebichlala kol hasevos bein sevas haTorah bein sevas hayamim. Okay, so that's like what Chaim wanted to say, that that the word of zakin in the pasuk is revealing that when it said seva, it meant even someone who is wise and old age, and presumably non-Jew, and then zaken later in the pasuk means v'yamim. Yeah. Okay, fine. So the Ramban didn't add any new shitas. Just
is he therefore saying that Onkelos is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Asi against the other two people?
Isi ben Yehuda.
Isi ben Yehuda against the other two.
Is he saying Onkelos like Isi ben Yehuda?
Because he's saying that zaken. Well, the zaken is only revealing something about seva, but it doesn't really work with the other two.
Right. Well, so he is saying that Onkelos is like Isi ben Yehuda in that he's saying that seva should be chlala kol hasevos, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like Isi ben Yehuda, and then he is learning that zaken later on in the pasuk is davka old. So and the only purpose of saying that is just to disambiguate seva, or to ambiguate seva, right? Well, it's to make it clear that it's referring to all types of seva. So it ends up, I think he is like Isi ben Yehuda. He's just adding, he's treating zaken in the pasuk differently.
Isn't seva and zaken are the same thing, and by having them both, they show one has to be one thing.
Well, the of the two terms, I think this is weird, right? Well, okay, zikna and seva can both mean both. Seva, though, includes more implications than zaken, apparently, right? Because it's implying even ashmai and even goy and even non chacham. Well, I guess that's ashmai. Yeah, I'm confused.
I feel like Targum Onkelos is like zaken is elder and seva is senior.
Oh, senior is a good term to throw into the mix here.
As in like
senior in chachma, right? Yeah.
Seva is senior, zaken is elder. As
yeah.
In, like, do you want to try to catch English connotations? Or
no, that's good. I like that term. Yeah. So rise up for your seniors and glorify your elders, right? And turns out that no matter that whether you go by Onkelos's route or by Isi ben Yehuda's route, you're going to get all elders and all chachamim, right? Right. That's Kol seva b'mashma and all zikna. Okay. So now, last step before we go back to the Rambam, let's look at the halacha l'maisa. Okay, and we're going to do what we usually do, which is the Aruch Shulchan.
I guess it's still really quite. I got something just think of like the non-Jew, like that's like is Rambam saying we don't stand up for the non-Jew, correct?
Right. He's saying you are mehader them the devarim and you give them a yad.
Yes. I guess it's still really good to hear from like guys. Mostly like always say since throughout this whole thing we have to have Yiras Hashem. They're chachamim, like they're not related to Torah, so we can't really stand up for them or them. We just have to keep them on Yiras Hashem. So therefore, we cannot treat their sevas better than and we can't treat their sevas better than their chachamim. So therefore, not staying with it. But that doesn't leave any room for hitter,
Right. Okay, so let's look at the Aruch Shulchan. Reish Mem Dalid Tes. Kasav Rambam. So he starts off with the Rambam, which is good for us because that's why we're trying to figure out here. Kasav Rambam, Mishu Zakim Muflag Bezikna, Afa Pisha Eno Chacham Omdim Lafanav. Afilu Chacham Shu Yelad, Omin Bifnei Zakim Muflag Bezikna, Ve'eno Chayv Lama Melo Kamasa, Elakadei Lahadro, Afilu Zakin Ove Kochavim. Okay, so he's using the bad gears of the Rambam. Mahadrin also B'dvarim Menosim Yad L'Sam Chosh. Nemar Mipnei Sefer Takum Kol Sefer B'Mashma Ad Kan Lashana. Okay, end quote.
Do you know necessarily the bad gears?
Yeah, all the Rambams. Rambam always says goy for he would his default term is goy, like, unless he means like Dr. They changed it. I mean, this is
I know there was censorship,
right? And this was a classic censorship thing,
like
right? The Christians changed non-Jew to idol worshippers because they didn't view themselves as idol worshippers.
Yeah, I know
right.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Of all. Sorry, wait, I skipped a bunch. Because of a Torah, Shazehu Rak B'Yel Et Chacham. So the Torah says that qualification of not going full stature is only for Yel Et Chacham. Because since people also need to be Noah covered with him, Lachain Ein Lo Lihis Bazos V'Dai Behidur. Right, so that's like what similar to what you were saying, that if the Yel Et Chacham were to stand up to his full stature, it would be bizui for him, right? So he just does Kedei Hidur. And I guess the idea is that, like, because you could say, like, well, doesn't the fact that he's being mahadra someone else also a bizui? Apparently not. Apparently the fact that he is limiting the kavod that he's giving him is bringing to mind the fact that people owe him kavod, right? Aval shar b'kol adam, but other people mechuyav la'amod mipnei zaken melo kamasa. Other people have to stand up the full height for the zaken, kamod mipnei chacham, just like for a chacham. Ayin sham, see there. Because of od hachi mistaber nami b'shnei chachamim o shnei zakenim. Also, it makes sense to say that this is interesting. 2 chachamim, 2 zakenim also do this. Neither one needs to get up fully for his friend. Ela yaselo hitter. He just needs to do a hitter.
So is there some, I guess, constant idea of hitter between, I guess, for chacham and zaken independent of this? Or is this
well, that's the mitzvah.
Like, right? Where do we get hitter for the senior?
That's from the psak, right? Is either that, I mean, look, either it's the, how do you want to read the psak? The keem and the hitter both end up applying to the what do you call, to the zaken and the seva, right? Because you still are standing and it still is kedei lahadra, just not full kamasa. However you want to work that in the psukim though. V'kasav Rabbeinu. Oh, so what he's saying like this: so you have 2 chachamim. Each one is chayav to honor the other one. But if chacham A honors chacham B by standing to his full stature, that would be a bizui to chacham A. So it doesn't have to do with the fact that it's 2 different levels of kavod. It has to do with the fact that, like, he himself deserves kavod. So he's saying what the chachamim should do is just do the partial stand, or the kedei lahadra.
So the partial stand for each other.
And then same thing with 2 zakenim.
What about chacham to a chacham zaken, and what about zaken to a chacham?
A chacham to a chacham zaken. Well, that's like the Rambam's thing of a Yel Et Chacham, right? I mean, that he does kedei lahadra.
When the difference would be that they're both chacham, so that you could say he's
right.
So there's no Torah being. There's no way in which.
No, in other words, if even 2 chachamim, if one chacham stands for the other to the full stature, that'd be a bizui to that chacham's chachma. So even if it's a chacham and another zaken chacham, that would still be a bizui. The only difference is if it was your rebbe, then that's not bizui because he actually does deserve more kavod.
And let's see. The other thing was zaken to chacham.
Zaken to a chacham. So it sounds like a zaken should stand up the full amount for a chacham, right? I think that's pashut. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if the zaken has a hard time standing, then the chacham should be mochel him, but or give him a hand, Okay, because of Rabbeinu Harama, b'sif ches dafilu harav l'talmido yasel hider katas. Wow, the rav should do a little hider for the talmid because it's true. If it's a talmid, if the talmid is a chacham, then the rav is obligated to honor the talmid. And you have an open statement. Kavod talmidecha chaviv lecha kashel chaverecha. They should honor your talmid at least as much as a colleague. Wow, that's interesting. I've never seen anyone do that before. I've never seen a Rav stand up for a talmid. Ad kan lashano. Ulefi zeh gam hazaken, and according to this, even the zaken, also with the zaken. I need to ask for Pesach about this. If that's how the Ramah does it, says it, like usually we go like the Ramah, but I've just never seen that before. Ulefi zeh gam hazaken. Pshita shehu mechuyav lasos hider bifnei yelad hachacham afilu kima gemora. Right, so he addresses your question explicitly, right? Even a kima gemora. Okay, so now let's see if he says how old you have to be. So you have to stand in front of a 70-year-old with a complete standing, unless you're a chacham yelad. V'hachi mashma pshata dekra pashta dekra mipnei seva takam v'adarta b'nei zaken. That's the pshat he's saying. I guess because he's saying seva is shivim. So he's learning seva to mean kol seva b'mashma, the normal way. V'afagav to b'gemara darshinan takum v'hadarta atarvaihu. So that is how they're getting that it applies to both of them, even though the Gemara makes a hekesh between both of them. Ain shah mikol makom al kol panim hismich hakasav kima laseva. Nevertheless, the pasuk juxtaposes kima to seva. Yeah. Dumani she'ena minhag. He says, but it seems to me that the minhag is not like this. Because in front of the Talmud Chachamim, we stand to the full height. So that's what I I've observed, right? That's what I thought the psak halacha was, that when an elder comes by, you do just the partial standing, not the full standing. And he's saying that that's what the minhag is. So far, he's saying that. So he's saying maybe they're learning that when it says the eno chayav lamud melokamaso, so we were learning that the chacham yela doesn't need to stand melokamaso, but these people, the minhag follows a reading where every person only needs to stand k'vei lahadro. Okay, that's a good justification of the minhag with the lashon of the Rambam at least. Afshar shesamchu al divrei Targum Onkelos, or it's possible they're relying on Onkelos. Shetigam mipnei seva takum min kadam desavar b'raisa v'hule while zakin pir saba v'ayin sham. So, or he's saying that the kima in the pasuk is kima gemora, and Onkelos says that is someone who is savar b'raisa, and hidur is only k'dei lahadro, and that's for actual saba. Yeah.
Is it okay to hold the Onkelos over the Talmud Bavli?
It's a good question because Onkelos was a Tana, right?
Well, I'd certainly say definitely to anyone who says you can hold Zohar over a Talmud Bavli, which because as the base of Zohar being Tanya, I think you can also hold Targum Onkelos. But
it's even greater than that, right? Because the Gemara says that the Targum is Misinai, right? Targum is the only one who wrote it down. So it is a good question, though, what role the Targum plays. I should ask this question also. What role the Targum plays in psak? Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know how much the poskim bring down the Targum as like for nafkamin as the halacha. It's interesting. Okay, hold on a second. So that justifies the minhag. Shekima hismecha kasav talmid chacham v'hidur lezakin b'shanim. Okay. Different Onkelos him neged sugyas Shas. The kiddushin Onkelos goes against the sugya of the Shas. Ayin ran sha'amad b'zeh. So the Ran pointing this out. Onkelos kibel mipi rabosav Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua. So who knows who we follow? But when my understanding is when the Gemara itself paskins, then we follow that over everyone, right? Like halacha k'basra. So when the Gemara, when Rabbi Yehuda said halacha k'isi ben Yehuda, that would be the end of the line. Nice. But let's look at the Ran there.
Yeah. I think I said what I was saying was just that there's never a clear rule at all. The people just sort of did things and just eventually the Bavli went out most of the time.
I don't know. Sorry, before we go on, let's do one more in the Aruch Shulchan. V'nir lenius daiti lefarsh b'gemara pirush acher l'fia Targum. Ooh, he's gonna try to justify the Targum. He's going to explain the Gemara according to the Targum. That's obviously the solution is glaring, right? If you hold that there's a minhag, which is at odds with the Gemara, but the minhag is justified by the Targum, but the Targum is against the Gemara, you got to explain the Gemara according to the Targum. Well, let's see if he pulls it off.
Or just hammered the things into the couple of things that didn't just go like all the hammer into the bali.
Yeah, but this is the derech of the Aruch HaShulchan, right? He many times will try to justify the minhag creatively. Let's see how creative it is.
I was like, he after mincha, whereas just looking at where people were seeming to act in ways that more accord with the Yerushalmi and the Bavli. It was like eating before davening.
Oh yeah, I'm not familiar with that case. Okay. Veneer, so he says like this. Okay, so he wants to say that our minhag reflects the ikra din. Oh, ambitious here. Let's see if he does it. Let's see if he pulls it off. So the Brisa says, arise before seva. Yaho afil mipnei zaken ashmai tamalomar zaken vein zaken elachacham shnemar esra lishivim ish miziknei Israel. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer ein zaken ela mishkan achachma b'chuli. Rabbi Yossi Aglili hainu tanakama. Ikabinayu Yanik Vachakim. Tanakama Savar Yanik Vachakim lo. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Savar Afilu Yanik Vachakim. Ayin Sham. Okay, so we've read that Gemara yesterday. V'yish l'daktik. Denihi diyesh zaken shepirusho chacham o mishakana chachma. So granted that the word zaken is explained either as a chacham from the Gezer Shava or as zeshakana chacham from the Notrikon. Mikomakom harbe yoser yesh de zaken hu zaken mamish. But it's more reasonable to say that zaken is a zaken mamish. The entire Tanakh is filled with this, right? Avram Zakin Baba Yamin, right? So Zakin definitely means old, right? Ben Zukunim, right? I mean, I know Onkelos there doesn't say it means old age. Never mind. I can't bring Onkelos there, right? Va'od, my si raya mizikna aseva. How can it bring a raya from zikna to seva? That was what I asked, right? That the Gemara is asking Peseva Takum should imply even Zakin Ashmai, and then it brings a raya from Zakin. Well, why are you bringing a raya from Zakin if you're asking about Seva? So it must be, Amnam near Dahaki Pirusha, must be that this is what it means. The Tana is saying that the Mikra is not according to its Pshah. Shari Zikna hu Beshishim Shana. Zikna is 60 years old. Veseva hu Leshivim. And Seva is 70. Kiditnan Shel Hiavos, like it says in Pirkei Avos. The Ich Omer Seva V'Zikna B'chada Inyana. So how can you have a pasuk that says Seva and Zikna in one topic? Ella Vadai Debala Galos Delomayri B'Inyan Shanim. So rather that the instance of both terms in one pasuk shows we're not even talking about years, klal at all, Ella B'Chachma, but we're only talking about Chachma for both of them. B'Haki Kamar Kra. This is what the pasuk means. Mipnei Seva Takum Be'eze Seva. What Seva is that talking about? Lo B'Shanim. Not in years. Ella v'hadar t'pnei zaken. Rather, it means glorify the presence of a zaken. Misha kana chachma. So that's like the Tanakama, right? That it's not talking about chachma. It's talking and two different people. It's talking about. Sorry, it's not talking about shanim with two different people. It's talking about chachma and it's one person. V'seifa pirusha dereisha, and the end of the pasuk is an explanation of the beginning. Vraka Tanakama savar de'al kol panim kemen shal kasav hoti b'lashon zikna v'seiva v'inyan tavrayu zaken v'chacham. And only the Tanakama holds that since the pasuk is expressing itself with zikna and seva, then you need both of them, zaken and chacham. Okay, so in other words, like this: zaken and chacham. Sorry, zaken, seva, and zaken point to two different ages. So the pasuk can't be talking about ages; it must be talking about chachma. And the second half of the pasuk explains the first, and the Tanakama says not only is it explaining the first, but they have to both be in one person. You need someone who's old and wise. Rabbi Yossi Aglili savar delomayrim bezikna klal rak b'Torah. Rabbi Yossi says it's only talking about Torah, not zikna at all. L'divrei elu hatanaim ein kan shum mitzvah l'chabed zaken b'shanim im eno tamid chacham. And according what they both have in common is none of those tanaim hold that you have to honor a zaken who's not a chacham. They either hold you have to honor a zaken who is a chacham or someone who is a chacham and not a zaken. Okay. Achar kach isa sham isi ben Yehuda omer mipnei seva takum afilu kol seva b'mashra. Then isi ben Yehuda swoops in and says even every seva. Upirish Rashi afilu zaken eshmai. Rashi says even a zaken eshmai. V'achar kach isa sham amar Rabbi Yochanan halacha ki and then we pass on like isi ben Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan havakai mikabesavi de Ramai, and it says that Rabbi Yochanan would stand in front of the non-Jewish elders. Amar kama harpatkai adu alaihu dahani. He would say how many experiences these guys had. Rava Mekam Lokama Kai, Rava would not stand, hitter Avilu, but he would do a hitter. Mashma, he wouldn't stand up full height, but he would do a little hitter. Okay, we read that. L'divrei haTargum nefarish had amar isi afilu koseva b'mashma lav azakin ashmai kai. So this is where he's going to make his move. According to the Targum, we can explain Isi ben Yehuda's statement of afilu koseva b'mashma to not be referring to a zakin ashmai. The rachog hu shetitzave haTorah lahadir pnei ashmai. It's improbable that the Torah would say you have to honor an ashmai. Ella dehaki pirusha. This is what he means. Delfima should be arnu latana kama v'Rebbi Yossi haglili ein shum mitzvah bezakin she'eno tamid chacham. That according to what we explained, that according to the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi Aglili, there's no mitzvah to honor a zakin who is not a Talmid Chacham. The Isi Omer da'afilu kol seva b'mashma. And Isi says any seva is implied. Klomar v'afilu eno Talmid Chacham, even not a Talmid Chacham. Rabbi Yochanan psak halacha came halacha, and Rabbi Yochanan paskins like that. V'omer hashas de Rabbi Yochanan haya kolkach machmir b'zeh da'afilu mipnei savi da'aramai havakam. And Rabbi Yochanan was so machmir he would even stand up for non-Jewish elders. Not because of the halacha, but because of how many experiences they've had. Okay, I'm starting to see similar to what you were saying. Rava, and then Rava says, make him lokai. Rava would not stand. Hitter avilahu, he would do a hitter. Abai yahiv yadal lasabe v'lokai aramai. Shari omer lasave stam. Ela klomar da abai Rava pligi al Rabbi Yochanan shahaya posik isi. Ela hidur avdi luhu libnei seva she'ina tamid chachamim. Okay, so in other words, like this, he's saying Rabbi Yochanan was not machmir because of the mitzvah. He was machmir because he was just in awe of the amount of experiences that these guys have had. That's like what I was trying to say, that there is a category of standing, not out of kavod, but just like, I know the example. Have you seen the movie Jurassic Park? Have you seen the movie Jurassic Park? Yeah, so there's a scene where he first sees the dinosaur. He first sees the brontosaurus or whatever it is, and he stands up just out of the sheer awe of the experience, not honoring the brontosaurus, So that's like what I'm getting from this, the vibe I'm getting.
What's the kol seva then?
So he's saying the kol seva is not extending to a zakin ashmai, and certainly not extending to a zakin goy.
So he's extending to not Talmud Chacham?
No, it's extending to, sorry, hold on. Did I lose the cheshbone? Well, please don't say I lost the cheshbone because I have to go back from the beginning. Hold on. Maybe I don't have to go back all the way to the beginning. Gomer Shas Rabbi Yochanan, Hayakokach Machmer B'Zeh. Wait, this is where I'm going to start. L'divrei Targum nefarish had amar izi afilu koseva b'mashma lav azakin ashmaikai. Okay, right. So he's saying that Isi ben Yehuda is not saying that kol seva includes a zakin ashmai. Why? The rachok hu shetitzavi haTorah lahader pnei ashmai. Elad haki pirusha delafima shebiarnu latana kama Rabbi Yossi Aglili ancient mitzvah b'zakin she'eno tamid chacham v'isi omer dafilu kol seva b'mashma klomer dafilu eno tamid chacham. So he's going ashmai according to Rashi. So in other words, there's three levels: zakin, an old chacham, an old regular guy, and an old ashmai. So Isi ben Yehuda is not saying ashmai, which is like some sort of like guilty guy, but he is saying a regular old guy. Klomar avafilu eno tamid chacham. Rabbi Yochanan pasak kein lahalacha. Omer hashas Rabbi Yochanan haya kolkach machmir b'zeh dafilu mipnei savi da'aramai havakai. So he's being machmir for sabi aramai lo mipnei hadin elamitam dekama harpaktai. Not because of the din though, because of just in the awe of being of these people. Omer Rava mekam lokai. Okay, and then it goes through all these other practices. And Rabba and Abai and Rava are pligi al Rabbi Yochanan. They're arguing on Rabbi Yochanan. Shari posik isi, who paskin like isi. Ella, that's why they didn't stand. But if isi's not, if Rabbi Yochanan is not doing it because of the din, maybe he didn't mean that for the din. Okay. Ella hidur avdi lahu libnei seva she'enan tamid chachamim o shayim mafarshim divri isi kain she'en kavanaso b'mesh amar afilu kol seva b'mashma inin kima mamish katatamid chacham ella inin hidur ba'alma v'haki pirusho dekra mipnei seva takum v'hadarta klomar sheyesh seva b'kima mamish. So there is a case of seva where you stand up literally. V'yesh seva b'hidra ba'alma. and then there's one he's pulling your moves here. He's divvying up the pasuk in his own way. Mipnei seva takum v'hadarta, that there is a seva that involves just kima, and then there's a seva that involves just hadarta. V'zakin megale al seva de b'torah kai, and Zakin reveals that the seva it was talking about is a Torah, a seva of Torah. That's like Onkelos. L'fizeh ladina who kamosha kasav Targum, and therefore the din comes out like the Targum. But who pirish Zakin saba lefi pashta dekra ulivli laharich. So Zakin, if it just said seva, we would have no clue what it means. But since it says seva and then Zakin, we see seva is savar ba'oraisa, Zakin is a regular Zakin, and reveals that was talking about that. Okay, I did not follow all of that. I only follow components, and I honestly don't have the energy to go through it right now.
It's like also just like one thing I noticed is that I felt like he was saying that the Targum Onkelos was only really working with Rabbi Asi ben Yehuda.
Well, yeah, because that's how we paskin.
The thing is that you either have to say it goes like all of them, or you have to say that it's fine for that you just have to accept the possibility of machlokes between. No, because and this is the point I do want to bring out is that where did all this start? So start off with saying that we have a minhag, and the minhag is not like the Shas and is like the Targum. So he said that's a problem because the Targum can't be in conflict with it. We can't possibly like the Targum over the Shas. So he wants to say that the minhag that the Targum is in line with the Shas and the minhag follows the Targum. So it has to be, you have to be limited by Isi ben Yehuda, because that's how the Shas paskins, and you have to be able to read it into the Targum, and it has to result in us not doing a kima gemura for an old person. But I guess if your goal is just to have us not be holding on the Shas.
Yeah, right.
I guess that was worth thinking.
And to not have the Targum be holding on the Shas.
No, that's the point I'm bringing though. Then is that if any one of these people, you first like all these opinions post date the Targum, like as in the Shas comes after the Targum.
Shas comes after the Targum, correct? So
therefore, if the Shas is fine being, so therefore, if any of the sides of the Shas are fine being cholik on the Targum, then the Shas just is not accepting the Targum as authoritative.
Right, but why can't he say that? So it is fine. He can't say because of the minhag, right? He's saying that the minhag is like the Targum.
Like if you're just trying to I guess explain the minhag in accordance with Shas, okay? Like if you're trying to say that the Shas,
you're asking why does he even care about trying to justify the Targum?
I'm just saying that unless you say Targum works with all the opinions in the Shas.
Why does that? I don't understand why it has to work with all the opinions.
Because worse than first, the Shas came after the Targum.
Shas came after the Targum, correct?
Which means that if there's an opinion in the Shas which disagrees with the Targum, that means the Amorim are fine with disagreeing with the Targum. Which means that that's not a pigul or a thing that invalidates the opinion. Which means that the end of the Shas could possibly against the Targum.
I see. Right. Yeah. This just goes back to the question I have of like, what is the standing of the Targum in the eyes of Talmud Bavli? You know.
Although I ask you a question that. Are the people that are arguing in the Shas quotes from Tanai, or is that like later on Amoraim?
Well, the Amoraim definitely. I mean, the Amoraim definitely quote Tanai. But are you saying like would the Mishnah quote something?
No. I know. I mean, like the actual machlokes. Actually, I think that the thing else between Tanai, it's just the Amoraim quoting the machlokes between Tanai.
Right.
Which would, I guess, counter what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Because in which case the Tanai. Which is like no one's gonna say it's not have to call the Targum. At least I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right, unless it carried like some sort of super weight as a Tana, as a Tannic era opinion. Yeah. But I've never seen that. So okay, so I here's what I propose we do. Okay, tomorrow we only look at the Rambam, and in light of all this, just try to make sense of the Rambam and then move on. Okay. I will stop for today because I'm all depleted from that that workout in the Aruch. And don't ask me to repeat it. I can't do that. Okay, let's stop for today.
Recordings for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Nice to join us again.
Thank you for having me.